but this is the upload file. And this is just some fake information that we've compiled so that we can show you. But basically, you will complete client name. And then for every field in Data Grows where we have a selection from a drop-down, we've created those same drop-downs in the Excel spreadsheet so that you don't have the risk of making any errors when making these selections and trying to import. So for entity type, rate group, status, year end, and various others. Now, the most important thing to get your upload to work correctly is to make sure that you set up two very important tables in the app first. And that is these two orange tables here, rate group and accountant. And the reason for that is if you assign staff to clients in these orange columns here, these names that you've created, if you invite your staff in the app, which I'll show you, save their names exactly as you've saved it in the app and come and write them in this column of the tips and formats. And then our spreadsheet converts them into a drop-down for you to select from, so that there's, again, no risk of spelling mistakes. And then there is what we have named a rate group. Now, this table is so that when you use our billing function, we have a timekeeping function as well as billing reports. Every single client is not necessarily charged the exact same rate for every task. You might have higher rates for bigger clients and lower rates for smaller clients or nonprofits, etc. So you need to create rate groups as you would assign it to that client for billing purposes. And then again, as you create it in that table, come and save the names here so that it becomes a drop down for you to assign it to that client. So to do that setup, in the app, you will see the tables and departments down the left-hand side, and you simply expand it by clicking on a heading. And the setup that you need to do before you complete your Excel spreadsheets is the accountant table, which is under the setup department. And this is where you're going to add your staff and actually invite them into the app. And you do that by clicking on add record. Give them a name. It can be full name or only first name. That's up to you. But then, as I said, how you invite them to the app, you need to make sure that you save their names exactly the same in your Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so if that's one of the things you struggle with in the imports, it's because there's a spelling difference. You then complete their email address, and then you need to assign a role to them. Now, every sort of feature and selection, you'll see these kind of gray descriptions pop up, what we call tooltips. And that sort of explains a little bit more about what you are selecting. In terms of the roles, you need to assign a role to a staff member in order to allocate a license to them, and so that they have the correct access depending on their role within your company. So we have the admin role, and we recommend that only one person be an admin. And the reason for that is in the clients table, only an admin can delete a client record. So we have statuses for clients active, inactive, and pending. But if you delete a client, everything, all the information and all the tasks that were scheduled, had been worked on for that client, get deleted as well. That is why we recommend one person to be admin. And then we have the partner role, which has all the rights that an admin does. So that would typically be if there were more than one owner in your company. And the only difference is that the partner cannot delete clients, only the admin can. Okay, so you will be the admin, the person who registered for the account, and then all other owners in the business will be the partner. Then we have the bookkeeper role. And this is somebody who would typically either be an all-rounder, somebody who performs all the tasks for clients in the firm, from accounting all the way to tax returns, or a manager type person, so someone higher up who has to oversee people in various departments. So they will have access to all of the departments on the left-hand side. Okay. We then have the assistant role, which is a free of charge role. In other words, if you invite somebody as an assistant, it will not count towards your paid licenses. And this is typically for somebody like a receptionist or personal assistant who will then be able to access the clients section and the ad hoc admin section to then help you maintain client records and perform various administrative tasks. So you're very welcome to invite somebody as that role. Then we have the custom role. This is now for larger firms where you're going to have designated departments for various tasks. And so if somebody performs more than one, let's say, for example, you have a bookkeeper and payroll person who does both accounting and payroll tasks, you can then assign more than one custom role to that person. If you are going to assign all 5 of them, you might as well assign them the bookkeeper role because that is the same. Okay, so depending on their function, depending on their skill sets, you are going to assign the specific roles to them, and that helps shorten the and simplify the view that they have of the app, so that it's not so many tables and so many things to work through, because they only have to focus on, let's say, 2 departments. Okay, and then you will click Save and New, and they will receive an invite inviting them into the app, and they can then begin working on it. Okay, so that is the first bit of setup that you will then complete their names in your Excel in column E of the tips and formats. Then the second setup that you need to do in order for your upload to work is to create a rate group. Now, we are changing and upgrading this section a bit this week to cater for fixed fee clients. So guys that are really on, let's say, a $3,000 a month package, all inclusive for basic accounting tasks. We're going to be adding a column or 2 here to this table where you can then specify that, because we are really focusing on automating billing for those kinds of clients as well. But basically, as I explained, the rate group table allows you to create various groups of how you bill clients depending on their structure, their size, and their needs. So depending on the services that you offer and the scale of those services, you will create a rate group. You will see in your app that we've rolled out these examples for you. You are welcome by clicking on any row. You can edit the existing rate groups and name them how they make sense to you. You can also delete them and start from scratch by clicking on Add Record. However it makes sense to you, you are welcome to do so. Okay. Then, for every rate group that you create and name, you need to assign the various tasks that we time for in the app. You need to assign within that rate group so that you can assign a value to that task. So this is going to mean, as time is worked and compiled in the app by your staff, the automatic report gives you a real-time billing view in the month at any given time for a task based on the rate that you've assigned for that client within that rate group. Okay. There are blog posts on how to set this up, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact support. I will show you our help resources a little later on. Okay, so once you've done your setup, make sure then to complete your spreadsheet. And as I have mentioned, if you need any assistance with that, our support team does help with that. We either offer the service for free if your data is simple enough to compile. Otherwise, we will quote you according to the complexity of us assisting you. Okay, but don't let the fact that you can't upload your data be the reason that you don't get to use the app, because it really is a huge stress reliever to use the app. Once you have captured your client's information, these green columns that are listed here are the various tasks that we automatically schedule. And so you're going to want to assign them and switch them on for every single client so that the app automates the scheduling for every task every month or other frequencies as well. So for example, accounting, you can choose from monthly, biannually, annually, quarterly, or no. If you select something other than monthly or no, please make sure that you specify the first month of that cycle so that the app knows in which cycle of months to schedule the task. So if biannually, then I would suggest you go with the first month of the financial year so that you have a task for the first 6 months and then a task for the next 6 months. Okay, etc. You can then specify a custom due date for every client for their accounting task. And then we schedule for VAT, and please specify how the client has been registered with SARS, whether they are monthly, even, odd, and we do cater for biannual. We then have payroll, which you can also select a custom due date if you like. Weekly payroll, bi-weekly payroll, EMP 201s, 501s, income tax, provisional tax, and turnover tax. Please note, if the client is registered for turnover tax, do not do like we have here and also schedule for income tax and provisional tax. We cater for all 3 tax return and payment cycles that a turnover tax client will need within this table. And I will show you a data validation report that we've built that helps you identify where you may have switched on all 3 tasks for this client. Okay. Then we schedule for UIF. In this case, it's not to indicate whether the client is registered for UIF, but more whether you have to declare the UIF return on you filing itself. So this is going to be for smaller companies that are not registered for pay-as-you-earn, or your domestic employers. Okay. And then we schedule for workman's comp. You can make note whether or not you've created a documents folder on your own storage place, whether it's the cloud or your computer. And then you can schedule for CIPC annual returns, make notes of the accounting package that that client uses, and whether or not monthly management reports need to be completed. This will pull through as a reminder in the accounting task for that particular client. All right, then we have the bank statement column, and I recommend that you complete this at least for all clients where you have to request the statement from them on a monthly basis or bi-monthly, depending on how often you do the accounting for them. The reason for that is we have built an automated email that will go out to the client, whether you schedule it to go automatically or you run the process. It will email the client requesting the bank statements for their particular company for the month that has passed. So if you had to run the process today on the 5th of October, they would get an email requesting the September bank statements and any other older statements they've not yet sent. So it's a great way to email your clients without having to type the email yourself. Okay, and I will show you what that looks like. You can then safely store logins and various other client information. Okay. Important thing to note, the registration dates here Please make sure that it is a date format, preferably day, month, year. And then the Excel file is not a CSV as you would be used to importing for other programs. We work specifically with a .xlsx file so that none of the ID numbers convert to scientific and none of the cell phone numbers drop their 0 when you close and reopen the file. Okay, there's nothing worse than having to redo that for 200 clients. So we've specifically used XLSX so that none of that information and formatting is lost. Okay, when you are ready, save your file and close it. And then in the setup section, there is a data upload table. Click on that and your table for the first time will be empty like this. Click on add record and then click save and edit so that the documents sub-tab at the top opens up. Click on documents, click on the little plus, upload the file that you have just saved, and then come back to details and click save. Now this takes up to about 2 minutes to run through your information and upload it. You can warm up your cold coffee and then come back to the data upload, click on the table a couple of times just to refresh it. And you want to see under process by system that the current date and time completes, the status changes to process, and the notes will either give you an error if there was, or let you know how many clients were successfully uploaded into the app. So here you can see that it's now told me it's uploaded 42 rows, and make sure that that number that it gives you agrees to your Excel spreadsheet that you worked on. And then if you click on the clients table, all of the information will be there immediately. And again, make sure that the total number of clients agrees to your Excel spreadsheet. Okay. So here you can see my client's information has been imported. And our most commonly asked question is, do the tasks schedule immediately? Yes, they do. The minute that the data upload runs, all of the tasks for every single table, for every single client that you switched on, immediately populates for the relevant due date and period that you need to still complete. Okay, so it happens automatically. In the clients table, we have a couple of subtables that you can use to complete client information. If you click on a CIPC registered entity, for example, this closed corporation, you will see that the directors or members sub-tab is available for selection, and you can expand on any table, any record by clicking on this arrow here. And then to add a director or member, click on add record, and you will see that the client automatically populates. Now you have the choice of selecting the member or director from your existing clients table, so that if they are an existing client, you don't have to complete other information a second time for them. And if they're not an existing client, you can then complete their name and ID number, etc. lower down. So you'll see if I select from an existing client, I select their directorship type and the date that they were appointed. Any information in terms of their ID number, cell number, and email address will be saved in the client's table already. And if I click save, that information will pull through if you completed it in the existing clients table. So you don't have to repeat yourself when adding directors. Okay. And then secondly, in the subtables for CIPC registered entities, we have the share register table. Here, you will be able to generate a share register for your clients, whether it is existing shares or a new company, for example. You add the shareholders by clicking on add record. The company name again will automatically populate. Complete the shareholder information, their class of shares, the number of shares that that shareholder owns. And when you click save, certificate number and the shareholding percentage is automatically going to populate. Okay. When you add additional shareholders for the same class of shares, okay, the certificate number again populates and the shareholding percentage automatically recalculates for the number of shareholders. Okay, and now if you click on certificates, within 30 seconds, you've generated a share certificate for your client. You can now download this to PDF, to Word, and edit it accordingly, and then have it signed. Okay. Should a shareholder leave the company and cede their shares, if you complete the date that they ceded their shares and click save, their shareholding percentage will automatically recalculate again. And if you now view that certificate, it will show up as cancelled. Okay. All right. So you can make use of that feature in next to no time. Okay. Another cool feature on the clients table, at the very end of the table, you will see a summary report. You can click on that to not only see the summary information for your client that you've completed, but also any tasks in the tables that are yet to be completed with due dates coming up. So you can immediately see for a client if there's anything that's been missed, simply by clicking on the summary for that client. Okay. The other column that is not in the Excel spreadsheet, simply because of the size of the list, is the SIC, the standard industry code column, that you can use to actually search through, other than, or unlike e-filing, you can actually use our search function and find the correct SIC code for your clients, and then use it as a reference for when you do complete their income tax return. Okay, so you're welcome to save that code there as well. We are going to add the profit source code too. We just need to find a better layout than what is available on the SARS website for source. Okay. All right, so once you've uploaded your clients, as I said, all of the tasks automatically schedule. And if you've assigned them to your staff, then they are going to reflect accordingly. We have a dashboard of the tasks that are assigned to staff members in the various departments for the various due dates. And that dashboard is the all tasks due table. And if you click on it, you're going to see all of the tasks that have been scheduled with little numbers under them. And that is linked to a staff member, a partner if applicable, a manager if applicable, and the corresponding due dates of that task. So here you can see the 7th of October coming up, the EMP 201 returns that David has yet to complete. Okay. It is split up, even though the due date is the same here, it's split because there are various managers involved as well. So it really is a great way to view various due dates coming up depending on your responsibility towards them. Now, this table can get quite long. You can see here we're up to 70 lines already. And so if you're focusing on this, you can filter on any column in any table by going to the 3 little dots there and clicking on the filter. And so if you want to focus on a particular staff member in this table, you will type their name in, and now the list is much shorter to navigate through. Okay. The filters that we've designed are sticky filters, meaning if you navigate away from the table and come back, you don't have to redo the filter if you were still looking at Jane's work, for example. So you don't have to keep redoing the filter if you navigate to other places. But just know that if you do open a table and you see less information than you're expecting, just look out for this blue icon on the top right here. If it shows there, you've got an active filter, and you can either change it by clicking on the person's name or the filter that you've applied by changing it. Or if you want to clear the filter, you can click on the X or simply clear all. Okay. Furthermore, this dashboard, the due dates are color-coded. Red means that the due dates have come and gone, and the tasks are not yet complete. Yellow means the tasks are due within the next 7 days, and then white is anything after that. Okay, so you can immediately pick up on anything that is coming up or that has been missed, and the numbers are little filters to each table. So if you notice here that David has missed 3 compensation, technically 4 compensation fund return of earnings that were due at the end of April. If you click on the table, the little 3 there, it's going to take you to the table. It's going to filter on David for that due date. And then you can then see, has work been done? Were any notes made? Were there any issues with these particular client returns? Okay, so you can navigate to any table by clicking on the number that is shown, and it will filter accordingly. So David has quite a few EMP 201s that he needs to complete before Friday. This all tasks due gets sent via email once a week as an Excel report so that you can actually see more detail, but you can also access that same report by clicking on the report section, and it is your to-do list for the next 30 days. So it's not as long as the dashboard itself. It's a 30-day snapshot, but it's far more detailed. Rather than having to click on every number, you can actually see for every accountant, the client and the task that is due. So we have the summary section that you can see color-coded in the same way. And then if you navigate to the other pages, you can see per accountant, per task, per client, the various tasks that need to be completed. And this can be downloaded to Excel if you need it. Okay. Okay, the next feature is the My Chats feature. You will see in any table next to any record a blue speech bubble. And this is an internal communication tool that you can use to discuss amongst yourselves anything that you need to, and it is record and client specific. So there's no needing to go through email trails, trying to figure out which client this person is talking about, which period they need assistance with, etc. So I, for example, could be Jane's manager for this particular client, and I've noticed she's not done any work. In order to address Jane in the chat, I click and type the @ symbol, and the accountant table pops up for selection, and I will then select Jane, and then the conversation that I've begun will show up in her My Chats. She can then see I've addressed a query to her and respond. So if I click send, the chat begins there, and Jane will now have a chat under My Chats. She can see the task type and the client that is being referenced, and her unread message count will show 1. If Jane then clicks on the 1, it will take her to the accounting table, to that exact task, and if she clicks on the speech bubble, she will see the message that has been sent, and she can then reply. Okay, so it's a great feature, and the speech bubble, as I said, is available on any record for any table where there is a record, you can begin a conversation. Okay. All right, we have a brand new table called the Organization Skills Matrix. Now, this is a internal evaluation tool that we've designed, mainly to help teams understand who is responsible for which tasks, who is capable of doing tasks, and who to go for training. So, you know, myself, I have a small accounting firm. It used to be me. And now I'm blessed to have 3 people who assist me with various tasks. So you guys will know when you first start out, you've got all the knowledge and it's your responsibility to pass that knowledge on so that the pressure is not always on you to do the work to assist and train your staff. So the organization skills matrix is a way of everybody evaluating themselves and their colleagues to say, these are the skills that we have, and who do we go to train, and do we want to learn more? So you will see, if you click on add record, you can select from the accountants table, and we recommend this to be a team discussion if you guys know each other well enough, so that you can update it and discuss it together and be fair on each other. So it's not meant to be a breaking down session. It's meant to be an encouraging session so that everyone is uplifted and encouraged to learn more as well. So you will see here, you'll select that. We have fixed the spelling mistake on this table. It's just not live yet. It'll probably go live today. But basically you will select based on your own experience. You will then select from the drop downs. And the goal really is that if accounting is your skill, that you should be able to then reach a 5 so that other people can come to you for training. When new staff are brought in, it's not the CEO's job to train them. It is the department head. It is the senior staff's job to train new staff members. Okay. Or if somebody wants to expand their skill set and go into a new department, they need to know who to go to for training. So you will select the applicable selections depending on your skill set. And like I said, it should be a team discussion because we can generally be quite hard on ourselves and might select a lower level than what we actually are capable of. Okay, but the point is to complete this for all of your staff and team members. And then what happens is in the report, a little matrix starts developing for the selections that you make. And you'll see here, based on the departments, the blocks start getting filled up. So a 5 is a closed block. And as the person gains more skill, he will eventually, hopefully, close that block. And that is the person that you go to for training in that department. Okay, so you're welcome to use that feature. It's a great team building exercise. Okay, the share register table here, as you start completing shares in the client subtable, you're going to see various companies listed here. This is a way to then filter on that client name, and you can download the register to Excel. If you need to, example, send it to the client, you can do so. So if you see more than one company under the share register, filter on that company name, and then you can download it to Excel and share the register with your clients. Okay. Then we have the various tasks that we schedule for. So I'm going to show you the automatic ones, the ones that populate based on the client table that you've selected true or false for. And if we start with the accounting table, you are seeing double because we've scheduled with today's upload the September task, which is the month that has ended. But we also schedule an October task because sometimes we don't just do historic accounting for our clients, we actually do real-time accounting. So bank statements weekly, invoicing weekly, or whatever the case is. So that is why you see 2 tasks here. And for every table, for every task, there is a status column. This is how you basically complete the task. And when the task is 100% done and you are ready to move on from it, you will change the status by clicking on the record. And if you change it to completed, it moves from the current table to the archive table. So each table has its own archive table. And so if you change the status to completed, it pops to the archive table so that your current to-do list gets shorter and shorter. Now, we don't recommend that you delete the task, archive it once it's completed. If you accidentally archive it, all you need to do is change the status to anything other than completed, and it pops back up to the current table. Okay. Now, specifically for accounting, you will have a begin period and end. And again, this is for the various cycles that we schedule. So if it's a biannual, you're going to have a 6-month period over here with the custom due date that you selected, the accountants assigned to it, and then a reminder for how you receive their bank statements. So this is where that column in the client table for bank statements pulls through. And the request statement clients, as I said, we have written a process, which you will find in the process table, called please send bank statements. Now, this process is what is going to send that email to the clients to request the bank statements for months that have passed. So we're not going to email them for October bank statements because obviously October has not yet ended, but it will send an email for all of the September clients who have the column saying request bank statements, and the received statements column has not yet been ticked. So it is important, if you're going to use the process throughout the month, that once you do receive the statements, you actually tick it so that you're not accidentally emailing a client who's already sent you their statement. Okay. So to use the process, simply click on it and change the action to process. If you click save, it's immediately going to run and email all of those clients, and you will see a last run date populates over there. Now, the email itself looks like this. It is going to come from Data Grows and address the contact person in the client table and copy the accountant who is assigned to their accounting task for that period. Okay, so the accountant gets copied as well. It addresses the contact of the client, asking for the bank statements for their entity name for the period ended that is in the accountant table. So new emails now would say ending 30 September 2022, and it signs off the email as the accountant responsible. And if you click reply, this email will reply directly to the accountant responsible so that the client can then simply attach the bank statements and the accountant receives the bank statement. Okay. If you want to automate the process, in other words, let the system email for you every single month at the same time, you will select a schedule date. And for me, logically, it would be the first of the month or the following working day. If you do not select a schedule here, okay, if it's blank, we will not email your clients. So you need to explicitly either run the process or select a schedule date in order for the app to email your clients. So if you don't want to make use of the feature, we're not going to do it without your permission. Okay. We also have an email that I tried to find an example of, but for the provisional tax. Now for me, again, I will schedule this for the first of the month. For any clients who have upcoming provisional tax, it lets them know that you are going to be calculating their provisional tax and letting them know that by the end of the month, they have a certain amount to pay. Okay, so you're welcome to use that feature as well. and that reads from the provisional tax table according to the various year ends of your clients within those due dates. So here you can see the only coming up provisional tax returns that we've got are December. And so on the 1st of December, I would like to remind these clients that they have a provisional tax calculation, and it mentions the exact period that you will be calculating and everything. So it's a great process to use. We also have a payroll email, which will go out to the clients requesting payroll changes for that particular current period. Okay. And then we have two internal emails that you can use to remind your staff of EMP 201 and VAT returns that have not yet been marked as paid. So with Friday coming up, I would want the EMP 201s, let's say, for example, to run on the 5th of every month, so that by then the accountants get a reminder that the EMPs have still not been marked as paid. They need to check them, make sure that the clients have released those payments. Okay, otherwise, again, if you don't want to automate it, if you simply change the status to process, those emails will go out. Okay, so that is the accounting table as well as various processes that we have created. We then have the VAT returns table, and this is going to schedule according to how the client is registered with SARS, the applicable due date, and that is why that is important. And so in the month of October, you're going to see monthly VAT vendors and odd VAT vendors whose due date for submission is the end of October. Okay. On the 1st of November, monthly and even vendors will populate automatically to this table, so you don't need to create them. Okay. And you can then track through the VAT submission accordingly. We then have CIPC annual returns. And over here, you can see all the information you need to complete this return on CIPC is in this table, from registration number to making a note of the annual turnover and the fee that you are paying on behalf of your client. And then for now, you can just make a note whether or not you've invoiced the client for this task. Okay. We then have financials and income tax, and this table is exclusively automated for CIPC registered entities who have to prepare financials and an IT14 return. You are welcome, though, if you need to prepare financials for any sole proprietors or even individuals, you can add them manually as a record by selecting the add record and then selecting the client. Okay. You can also add any backlog for any client, because we only schedule into the future for any returns and financials that you still need to draft. So if BDC still needs 2021 completed by the time you upload your information, click on add record, select the client, and you can then select the various options, and you will complete the year end as February 2021, assign your staff, and then save, and then you can track through that task as well. Okay, so any backlog for any tasks, you can also add them as a record to the tables. Okay, the financials and income tax, you will notice that we do have an audit engagement type. And if you need more than one person to work on a particular year end, if you click on the financials team, you can add your staff, more than one staff member, to the financials team so that everybody knows who is scheduled and should be working on this year end if you need a whole team to do so. Okay, so you can just refer to that. All right. Then we have compensation fund. Now, all of these should hopefully have been submitted. And so if you've taken it up with David and he actually did complete them. So that's the other thing is when you do your data upload, if any tasks schedule that you've already completed by the time you upload your client. So let's say, for example, all of these ROEs were submitted and paid and you got letters of good standing and everything. You don't need to open every single record and tick through them and then change the status to completed in order to archive them. If you're happy, all the tasks have been completed or some of them, you're welcome to use the tick boxes down the side there and then change the select action to mark complete. And then if you click run, it will archive in bulk the ones that you've selected. Okay, so you're welcome to use that as well. Okay, then we have the EMP 201 table that you can track and the applicable due date coming up, as I said, on Friday. EMP 501, yeah, you can see all of the October returns that we need to complete by the end of this month have populated. We have payroll, which is going to schedule according to the cycles that you've set up for your client, and you can then track through the payroll. And then we have UIF, which, as I said, is for those clients where you actually declare and pay on you filing for them. Okay, you can track through those. We have income tax for individuals, which you all know the SARS deadline, as far as I'm aware, hasn't been extended yet, but is currently for the 24th of October for 2022. And there's many headings here as they apply to your clients. You can track through those and then keep track of their refund as well. And as I said, any backlog, if you need to add older years, you simply click on add record and capture it accordingly. We then have provisional tax returns, which I've shown you. You're welcome to use that process to remind your clients. And this is, again, automatically going to schedule twice a year for every year end of that particular client, whether it's a company or an individual. And then we have the turnover tax, which the next upcoming submission being the end of Jan for final submission. And what's really great about this table is you can make notes of your SARS appointment date, and it will actually remind you in the all tasks due, there's a turnover appointment as well, so that you don't miss that important date. Okay. Okay, one thing I didn't show you on the features, on any record, in any task table that you are working on, to use the timekeeping function. It is a real-time timekeeping function, so it's not a manual capturing and making notes of how long we work on a task. To make use of our timer, click on any record where a client is assigned, and you will see that the play button turns blue. And you can now click on it and it will start timing. And if you hover over the time, it tells you exactly which client and exactly which task you are working on. Now you can navigate to other tables and it will still time for you. You can log out of the app. You can be timed out of the app after 2 hours, for example. You can lose internet connection. You can lose power. You know, if load shedding kicks in, the timer will not stop timing. So there's no risk of losing any time in the app. But the flip side of that coin is that you have to remember to click stop. So if you're done with a task, click stop. And if you forget to click stop, so on a Friday afternoon, we're all exhausted and you've done your last task for the day and you simply close your laptop and go home. And on a Monday morning, you open up the app and it's been timing for 72 hours, which obviously is an unrealistic time for any task. Your time that you log is automatically and immediately generated for any task under the time log table. So here you can see the one that I timed for a couple of seconds, has been created. And let's say, for example, I came into the app and that had run until the 7th of October for 48 hours. Now, you've panicked and stuff. If you know which client it was, which you would have seen by hovering over it, you'll also be able to filter for duration greater than, let's say, 2. But if you find the record, all you need to do is click on it, change the end time to what is reasonable. So if you know what time you left on Friday, for example, and the duration will update. So here you can see for all of the clients that we're going to work on, the task description as well as the duration that has worked is going to populate. Now, if you round your time when you do your billing, so if you round, let's say in 15-minute intervals, in the setup section, please complete the firm settings details. You'll see a line there called My Firm. Complete the information and you will see a time rounding selection there based on how you round your time, if at all, so that the time log will automatically, for new records, rounded in 15-minute intervals based on the selection that I've made. So again, you don't have to do that manually. And I just want to show you in another database where we've logged some time. So here you can see a couple more records have been worked on with various durations there. In the reports section is a time to invoice report. Now, based on the rate groups that I've created, assigned to clients, and the rates that I've assigned to the various tasks, I can get real-time billing information for any period that I like, just by changing the from and to dates here. And then I will explain the status in a minute. But if you view the report, you can see now a time to invoice for every client, for every task, and the value thereof. So it is literally real-time billing information. Now, the status of the time, you will see as the admin or partner of the firm, you are going to not only see a time log table, but a time authorized table as well. This is how you are basically going to authorize the time so that you will prepare it for billing. So on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, depending on how much time you've got to filter through here, you are basically going to look at the duration, make sure that it makes sense. Nobody forgot to click stop or is taking time that you find is unfair to bill your clients, for example. So if an asset verification, for example, you know this client has all of 10 assets, it shouldn't have taken them 4 hours. You can then amend the records if you need to, discuss it with your staff if you need to. But if you're happy with the time in the time authorized, there are a couple of macros to choose from here, which will then help your billing reports as well as future automation that we are working on in terms of invoice generation. So if we're happy that the time that's been worked on here, let's say, for example, these two, we invoice the clients in advance before time was even worked, and you don't want to duplicate that by billing them again, you can then mark the time as invoiced and click run. And then it's going to pop to the time log archive and the status will change to invoiced, okay? Otherwise, if you're happy that the time should be invoiced and you'd like to now see it as that status on your report, if you click run, it's going to move from the time authorized to the time invoice pending table. Now, what we've done is we've changed the status either to invoice pending if it's ready to be invoiced, or we've marked it for you as rate group missing. Now, this either means that the task has not been assigned to the rate group that the client belongs to, or the client themselves in the client table does not have a rate group assigned to them. And that means that the billing report doesn't know how to correlate the time worked versus the rate, etc., etc. So make sure that you then go and update the rate groups either for the client or the task, which will be listed as the description here, so that your billing report actually looks the way you expect it to. So here you can see as well in the report, the various statuses are now shown. And so if I'm ready to do invoicing, I'm not going to view invoiced time already. I want to do invoice pending and then fix the rate group missing. Okay. And so that way you are able to generate your billing in a lot quicker time. And the second section of this report is a time to invoice per accountant. If you pay your staff hourly, if you pay overtime, for example, you can see here for every client, for every task type, the hours that have been worked. And I mean, I've selected a 2-month period here and 12 hours in total was worked. There's an issue in my team. So you can address any kind of issues, any kind of inefficiencies in your time in real time with your staff. Okay, all right. Then a process that we are improving on this week is the generate invoices process, which if you like, you can use those invoices once we've completed our upgrades this week to actually send them to your clients. There'll be a valid tax invoice, and it'll be a way for you to then take the time that is in time invoice pending now. If you run the process called generate invoices, where a rate group was assigned, if you run that process, the time invoice pending that said invoice pending has now moved to the time log archive. The status has changed to invoice, and an invoice has been created in this table. Now, the upgrades that I'm referring to is that there's actually a document that you can view containing all this information, which we're just still busy linking to. So just look out for that. But you will basically be able to have real-time invoice information in the app. And then our last goal for this section is to integrate with Sage 1 Accounting to actually take this invoice that's been generated and via an API call created in Sage 1. So basically your billing is completely automated. And then from Sage 1, then you can then select to email it to your clients or make any changes that you might want to do. Okay. And we will then secondly integrate the same function into Xero as well. Okay. Phew, that's already a mouthful and I'm not done. We have a couple of manual tables. These are tasks that are ad hoc, that are once off, that don't necessarily occur monthly, yearly, etc. And so here you will see that the tables are empty, but you need to then add the record in order to track them. So firstly is the firm and ad hoc tasks. Click on add record. You can then select from a bunch of administrative tasks, if you want to call them that, that we've created. If there's any you'd like us to add, feel free to send us an email. But basically you will select the task, select the clients if it's applicable, give it a status in progress. You can assign it to a staff member, a partner if you need to, and even a manager. And then you can give this a due date if there is one. Okay, and then click Save and New. As soon as you've saved the record, you can now begin timing on it. Okay, so you can time on the manual tables as well. Secondly, we have the specialized tasks table. Now, yours will be empty when you open it for the first time. And the reason for that is we've listed all these various departments and tables, but we realize that certain clients have tasks that you really need to be reminded of, but we don't necessarily give that description that you need to be reminded. So very specific things like paying suppliers on their behalf, paying staff members on their behalf, raising their sales invoices and sending it to their clients. So anything that is very client specific that we do not necessarily schedule for in the app, you will create under setup in the specialized scheduler table. So you will click add record, you will name the task. So as I said, any description that you need, and then you can provide more information if you need to as well. Assign it to the applicable clients, and now you automate this reminder. So if it's a recurring thing, you are then, for example, on the 20th of every month, you want to schedule the task, and by the 25th, these billing cycles need to be done. Assign it then to a department so that when you time on this very unique task, our time and reports know which rate to assign to this task. And again, assign it to your staff members, and your staff can create these for themselves. You can create them on their behalf. It's really a customize it the way you need to table. And the minute you click save, under the ad hoc tasks department is a specialized tasks table, and you will see that the very first one is going to populate. Okay. And then thereafter, on the 20th of every month, the next one will populate. So you can now be reminded of this. And as you start to create various tasks, this table gets quite full. And so you're then going to, when you're focusing on a particular client, filter on them and be reminded of those tasks. Okay. The other manual task that we have is the CIPC tasks, which again will be empty for you. Click on add record, and you will see the tasks that we are referring to will be again once off, once in a blue moon tasks for clients. And so select the applicable task, assign it to the client, give it a status, etc., etc. But here, if you click save and edit, a subtable called CIPC subtasks will appear. And what we've done for every task that is available here, we have listed the documents that you need in order to complete this task with CIPC. So you don't need to remember, you don't need to make the list and tick it, you can tick it here. So you can make notes of the date that you've requested it from the client, the date that you've received, and then completed it. And there are various templates as well that you're welcome to download. So if you click on the little arrow under the template download link, a Word document or PDF, depending on the type of document, is going to download, and then you can then complete the information. Okay, so there's quite a few for this particular task. And then for CIPC, once you complete a date here that you lodge the request on the website with SIPC, and then, for example, you get your COR 39 in your email. If you save that date here, an automatic due date is going to count 10 days from now to remind you that you have 10 days in which to reply and send the documentation so that you don't have to redo the process, okay? And from tomorrow, the day counter is going to count as well. So keep an eye on that so that you don't miss the window. You don't have to go into SIPC and start it all over again. Okay, and you can track through that. And then lastly, our last manual table is for SARS tasks. Here again, you will click add record, and there are over 20 SARS tasks to select from, depending on what you need to do. If you need one that we've not created, please send it through to us and we will add it. But basically, just like CIPC, you will select the task, assign it to the client, give it a status, etc., etc. You can also assign an internal due date here. If you delegate the task and you need people to actually compile the stuff within a certain number of days. And then if you click Save and Edit, the SARS subtask with the list of documents needed to complete this task successfully first time is listed according to what SARS prescribes, with various templates to download again. So for example, the proof of residence letter that SARS accepts, if they do not have a valid utilities account, for example, you can download a blank PDF. We've also given you the letter that they would take a selfie with if you're going to use the electronic link, which we have then provided for you to then upload the documentation electronically. Okay, so for various SARS tasks, the subtask with the applicable supporting documents and templates is available for you. Okay, now SARS, when you upload your documents, literally send them to SARS or upload them on e-filing. If you save the date there under uploaded and click save, a due date 21 working days from now is going to calculate so that you know when you can escalate with SARS for feedback. So for other tasks where their turnaround time is longer than 21 days, we have catered for that. But here you can see 21 days is the date of response. And then the day counter here for SARS is going to count from tomorrow, but in working days. So again, here's a great example. This public officer update, if I've not heard anything by now, by tomorrow, then I need to phone SARS and escalate. So very important for VAT return refunds where you're trying to recover that money for your clients. You know exactly when you can escalate with SARS. You can also here keep track of any appointment dates if you need it, as well as the case numbers applicable to these tasks. Okay, and similarly, you will click play and time to keep track of working on that, task, sorry. Okay. Should you need any assistance, we have a help icon, which you can click on here. You can open it in a new tab if you want. And complete your email address and how we can help you. And that will go directly to support and we will respond. And other than that, we have many resources. If you click on the resources tab, there is a blog post for every single feature that we have created that you can watch a short video, read a short description to see how to complete that section or how to make use of that area. So here you can see various screenshots of how to set up the specialized task table, for example. Okay, so if you get stuck on anything, there is most likely a blog post for it, but otherwise do not hesitate to contact support to make sure that you are able to use the app without any frustration.